We have fat muckets here. These are both the same species, but you don't think of as males and females of a mollusk really having differences. But these have quite a large amount of sexual dimorphism differences between the sexes. The male on top here and the female on the bottom. Now, you notice a couple things. These things are approximately the same age, but the male, and we can tell the age approximately by the number of growth lines that are on the outside. So
counting rings on a tree.
Yeah, counting rings on a tree, and you can actually there's actually some work in some of the long-lived species that can live a century or more that they can actually do something like that. So the male will grow quite a bit larger because it's putting less energy into producing gametes. And so the male just kind of releases sperm into the water, and he's done with sex for his life. The female, on the other hand, she will bring sex. She'll bring the male gametes into her incurrent siphon, and that will fertilize eggs that she maintains inside her gills. And she actually houses those inner gills. The fertilization happens there, and then there'll be a metamorphosis from after fertilization into what's called a glochidium, which is the larval muscle. And the larval muscle will be housed inside the gills of the female. So I'm gently opening her up, and we can kind of make out her gills inside, and they look like little pouches. And inside there, that's where those glochidia are housed, and she will brood them in there. And the female fat mucket actually will use a lure to attract her host. And you'll probably see another video of a little mantle flap lure, and these things use that mantle flap lure. These things primarily use bass and other sunfish as their hosts, and they will. That bass or sunfish will try to strike at that lure. She will sense that it's there and release the glochidia right into the mouth of the fish, ingesting the gills. A period of a few weeks, those glochidia will metamorphose into a juvenile mussel and start living a free-living lifestyle.
Oops.
Top is male?
Yeah, this is your female. The female has that typical extended posterior. She's blunt on the end. The male comes to the point, and that's because she's making room for her gill marsupial in there to house her young. That's a characteristic that runs across across the genera, the sexually dimorphic ones, is that the female, in some way, shape, or form, the female's posterior will be enlarged, and it's typically just to make room for those gill marsupial. So
and you've got a fairly
that.
clear example of that with the lamp shell here, is that?
Yeah, exactly. This is, I don't have a male.
Or pocket bow, sorry.
But yes, again, you can see there's the posterior, and this is her anterior end here. On the male, the anterior end, or the posterior end, would come to a point in about this area too.
Okay,
So just this huge spot here where she's making room for the gill marsupial inside, and then of course for the lure as well.
So that's another example actually of a modification. So it's the gills modified in this case for brooding.
Yes.
Whereas they are also gills, and in the males they're just gills. So.
Correct. Yeah. They're modifications typically to the outer gills for brooding the young, and certainly in the males they don't have that function.